had spent 4 years in early stage investing ecosystem in India, which is one of the fastest growing. But I was always fascinated by the US startup ecosystem or investment ecosystem. And I think MBA would have been the right place with which, tool with which I could pivot and experience the largest ecosystem in the world, investment ecosystem in the world. So I think I was very inclined, which is why all the schools that I applied to, except one, were all in US. Seeking things out, I had mentors in the industry who led me in the right direction. I actually wanted to do masters in management or masters in finance, but it was my first reporting manager. And he told me that the value of an MBA is very different from the other courses that I want to pursue. So it was his suggestion, and I spoke to more people, and that's when I decided to wait for a couple of years before applying. And that's how the degree also changed.
So when people start thinking about the MBA, the first thing that they have to deal with is the GMAT, right?
Correct, yes.
Given that you spent so many years, a few years out of the college life and back in a professional setting, it's difficult sometimes to get back into that mode and get into it. But you sort of smashed it out of the park with a really great GMAT score, right? A 760 is one of the most aspirational of scores. So how did you start with this whole preparation for GMAT, and how did you put yourself in that mindset first of all, and how did you do the prep finally?
So before I get into this, my advice for everybody who is starting out is to get done with your GMAT in college, because that's the closest you are to academics, and I think that's the easiest it's going to be for you also. And my journey with GMAT has been a very long one. I have taken GMAT and GRE for a combined of 5 times. And it wasn't like the score, yes, looks amazing, but it was a very tiring journey. I started with a 590 in GMAT. So it's been a very long journey. But what I realized for me personally was that these coaching institutes that have a fixed curriculum for everybody in a class did not really work for me. I could not pin down what do I understand, what do I not understand. So taking a personal tutor was a much better route for me than the other way around. And I am not from an engineering background, so tackling quant was more challenging for me than verbal. So it took me a very long time and a lot of attempts. But yes, I think finding what works for you is very important in cracking this exam. I had to move out from the mentality of, give it 3 months and you're done. Because that's not going to work. I just realized after a couple of attempts that that's not going to work for me. So I knew that I am going to take 6+ months. So I started slow, and I did not set any unrealistic expectation because my work hours were very long. So it was on weekdays, it was just an hour or 2, but on weekends was where the rest of the work actually went in. And I also was switching jobs between. So I took a month off. I took that gap. I think that really made a difference. I knew that applications are going to be very overwhelming. And even after knowing that, I was surprised to the extent I didn't expect. So I took my GMAT in October end. And unfortunately, I'd missed the first round deadlines, which I was a little concerned about. So it was right after that, I didn't have much time. That's when I contacted Crackverbal, and, we were very quickly, things went on. I had a mentor assigned. So that I think starting in November for deadlines in Jan is a good idea. It was fine. The sooner the better. But it was fine for me. But yeah, like you said, GMAT is just one part of the story. After that and the most important in rest of the application is storytelling. Understanding what is your story, where you come from, where you want to go, and how does that school really fit in for you. And you have to sell that entire story to the adcom. And that just does not happen in one day. And I was actually just talking to one of my relatives who asked me. And the reality is that For years, I've been reading about this. So for T25, I know which you name the university, I'll tell you the name of the B school. and that's I think it worked really well because it helped me connect the dots as to which university I want to focus on and how can that school help me. But my advice again would be start at as early as possible because the slots really fill in the later rounds and it gets even more competitive for Asians. So round 1 is the best bet.
So you applied to 7 schools, right? If I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
And all were, and let me just list it out so that people know the kind of schools you applied. Wharton, Columbia, Yale, NYU Stern, MIT, LBS, Haas. Did I miss anything? Or...
No, I applied one on my own. So I also applied to Georgetown by myself.
Yeah, you applied to McDonough also. Correct.
Yeah.
So all of these schools, all top schools, and you don't have any other chances because you're already in round 2. So how, first A, did you pick these schools? And B, how did you research and plan these schools out? And how useful was this, was having a consultant in these things as well?
Like I said, I mean, storytelling sort of helps, even in your mind, it helps you choose schools because now you want to know where you want to land up. And like I said, you will find that little piece that wants to fill in. And every school has a different thing to offer. So knowing what each school, and it's visible all across the logo that they have, what they're trying to say, what the kind of talent that they're trying to bring to the table. And it doesn't happen in a week's time, in a month's time. You really need to attend those sessions, speak to alums, understand the values that people come in with to those universities to be able to choose what really fits for you. And I think that really happened for all the schools that I applied to. And I knew them well. In fact, I was just telling one of my friends that there was this essay in Georgetown and they asked what kind of a business leader you aspire to be. And the answer that I wrote was, he's a professor at NYU Stern. I mean, that's the kind of knowledge I ended up having. I didn't want to have, but I ended up having. So, I mean, it is easy for me to pick those schools. Because like I said, I started early, I researched a lot. Yeah, so attending sessions, like I said, is very, very important. You get to know so much about the school, and then that's just the start, because then you have to actually go and connect to alums and understand where are they coming from and where do they wish to go. Also, universities offer lectures that you can go attend. And I think that also gives you a good sense of at least how the academic aspect of that business school is going to be. What works for you, what doesn't work, if it's experiential learning. So maybe this is the school that you need to target, or, if case competitions is something that you want to do, then that's how you will find out what works for you. Just as I don't know if I can say Indians or Asians, but I'll just say for Indians, we are just accustomed to more grueling interview sessions. So it was very refreshing for me to walk into an interview where nobody is questioning too much. So they just want to know your story. So be authentic, read your application before you go. They want you to talk. So whatever you have to say, they listen. So interviews, to be honest, is the easiest part of, you just have to practice once or twice and things will just flow. So interviews was not that difficult, but yes, fitting in 8 applications in one round was very challenging. Yeah. So, the first prep, I think, it was with you, Sandeep. You asked all variety of questions that can possibly come, and that gave me a good sense, because you were also very calm during the process, and I got an idea as to what all will be asked, and I went in prepared from that aspect. And I think the more you do it, the easier it becomes. The jitters that you have, that's only for the first one. It just gets better the more you do it, the more you practice.
4 interviews, all 4 came back positive.
Yes.
Right. So again, wow, congratulations. So to recap, it was Yale, Haas, NYU, and McDonough. And I think McDonough also came back to you with a scholarship as well.
Correct, yes.
So happy problem, obviously, but a problem nonetheless. How do you choose between schools? What methodology, how did you try to address this problem of choosing? And I think you finally chose Haas. So how did you make the whole decision? Yeah.
I think moving away from the mentality of writing an application to digging out what's the reality helped. I honestly didn't think I'll be in a position where this would be a problem. But when it did occur, I did not know how to cater. So I think mentality is number one. You have to move out from writing essays and storytelling and actually speak to alums, pick up the phone, and and alums are very, very helpful. And every university will ensure once you receive and admit that they'll schedule calls and they'll provide all the support that there is. So I actually spoke to people from all these universities, and I realized that the initial plan that I had, I wanted to do private equity in the US, and I got a reality check that, hey, that doesn't happen. It really doesn't happen. And it's a long journey if you want to go there. So I think, and everybody unanimously agreed on it. So then I had to see what works, what doesn't work. For an international applicant, visa sponsorship is very, very important. So the second step that I did was I found out which employers provide the highest number of visas that are going to be awarded to international students. And that's how I circled down on consulting and investment banking. Owing to a lot of self-reflection I did for 4 years, I knew investment banking is not where I would thrive. It's not an environment where I would thrive. And with my background in early stage investing, I think consulting made sense also. So that's how I chose consulting. So it was easier to pin down on schools. But I think what really helped me pick Haas, Haas over every other school was my long-term goal. I want to start something of my own one day, and I want to be an entrepreneur. And there is no ecosystem like Haas's or probably Stanford's that builds that has that energy all around the campus. So I think it was also a way to remind myself to not get too comfortable in the long run, even though it's consulting. And having the people who share the same energy would really help me in the long run. So Haas, actually I chose because of that because every top school is going to give you similar opportunities in consulting or investment banking. Probably Stern investment banking will give you the most, but for every consulting, every other school is in the same league. So it was really values, as Western as it may sound and not Indian. For me, it was very. It was very naturally, it just went on. I didn't really feel out of place, even though I think everybody's very welcoming. The support system just to ask questions was, I just got the right feeling with Crackverbal, having spoken to a lot of people. And the way that Crackverbal works, it really was special. I was assigned a mentor who is from one of the schools that I wanted to attend. And the value of that mentor was not just for writing essays. Even after that, I'm still in touch with him, and I asked him questions about consulting. So I think it gave me a true sense of what it is like to go and study, and not just about writing those essays. So that really, I think, was one of the reasons that I really liked Crackverbal. It was very real to the actual goal.